Do you think Bitcoin is broken?
Yes and no.
Welcome back to the podcast. Before we jump in with the episode with ARCrypto and Gven today, wanted to share a little bit about our sponsor, Pika Crypto. Pika is revolutionizing the intersection of NFTs and gaming through their Pika trading card game, Elders of Kai. The TCG will be both digital, physical, and Web3 integrated, allowing gamers to play and compete in various formats. They're really leading the industry here in terms of pushing what you can do with Web3 in gaming. And whether you're a newbie or you're a pro gamer, there is a spot for you within the Pika ecosystem. So be sure to go into the description, check out more from the links here on Pika and Elders of Kai. Go to the website, check out the social media, as well as join their community on Telegram. As well, we also included a link for this episode to the course with ARCrypto, a special link with the podcast. So go into the description as well and click on that link for ARCrypto if you want to learn how you can get involved in their crypto trading and investment program to learn how you can make more active and passive income within the cryptocurrency, blockchain, Web3 space, and learn more about everything they are doing. So check out those couple things and enjoy the episode, guys. What's up, guys? Welcome back to BlockHash Exploring the Blockchain, episode 332. Today with Gven, the CEO, the founder of ARCrypto, to talk about crypto education and what they're doing around trading within the crypto space, as well as ways that you can earn more money from active investments, passive investments in the space, and how to take full advantage of it to help yourself become more successful. Gven, welcome to the show. Super happy to have you here. We're going to have a great conversation. How you doing today?
Good, brother. Good. Thanks for having me, Brandon.
Yeah, the pleasure is all mine. This will be fun. Gven, before we get going, tell us and the audience a little bit more about yourself and your story. I'm sure they'd love to know a bit more about your background and I think how you kind of got into this space and what you're doing now.
Yeah, sure. So, I got into crypto back in 2017, and during what was my first bull run, it was around June or July of that year, and my first crypto that I invested in was Litecoin, and Litecoin, when I first bought it, I forget what the price was because I've had so many cryptos that I bought since then, but what I do remember is, it ended up going up by like 20 or 30% within a couple of weeks. And, I was used to these TradFi gains where you would, if you were lucky and you had a good stock pick, it was, 20 to 30% a year. Right. Mm-hmm. And I remember, kind of coming up with this phrase, I came for the gains, but then I started learning all about what crypto stood for, and I stayed for the revolution. And starting in 2018, same time I guess your company started as well, January of 2018, I started teaching people, the basics of crypto. Back then, we didn't have DeFi. And so I opened up my school back then, and it was probably the worst time I could have opened it up because, as the beginning of 2018 was the end of the bull run. And we were just catching falling knives left and right there. We were investing in ICOs, and we did relatively well on that. And even after a few years, we did well. But then, the market just kept going down, and I ended up within literally 30 days, I ended up filing for divorce from my ex. I ended up getting diagnosed with cancer, colon cancer, and I ended up, my cat died. I mean, my life sounded like a country story. Mm-hmm. And I had to move back in with my parents. I went from a millionaire to a, thousandaire pretty quickly there. And so I ended up making a decision to stop teaching at that time. And and focusing on my day job, which was in the law. And I was managing a law firm at the time. And I ended up taking the time to really heal, work on my mindset, work on meditating, work on really just, getting my stress levels down, because I was just massively stressed all the time. And as you can imagine, this in crypto, it's not exactly the Zen business. It's got enough ups and downs to just really, make your stomach turn upside down. And so I took about a year and a half off of crypto, and I was keeping in touch with it, but really making some like light trades. And I got into Binance at that point in time in 2019, which was a good pick in the long run. But I ended up really kind of hitting this wall back at the end of 2019. And, the cancer was for the most part at bay at that time. I went through surgery, but I didn't do chemo, despite the fact that the doctors were telling me, go do chemo. You're young and healthy. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly why I'm not going to go do chemo. And so I ended up going to Bali. I actually called my partners and I said, hey guys, I need to take a sabbatical. And I ended up going to Bali for about 10 days. And I spent 6 days in silence at a silent retreat out there. And just really contemplating, like, what do I really want to do? And I came out of there just floating, like very, very clear. Although I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, I knew the direction that I wanted to head into. And so I ended up going to Russia because I didn't go through chemotherapy, and I was definitely into alternative medicines and treatments and stuff. So there was a doctor in Russia who was kind of like a shaman doctor. It was really cool that I went and treated with. And I was only supposed to be there for 3 weeks. And this was in March of 2020. And I was in the city of Sochi, which is where the Winter Olympics were a few years back. And the doctor's like, I need more time with you, just because I wasn't doing certain things right. And he was worried, like, I needed to just spend more time with him. And that's when the world starts kind of locking down. And I'm sitting here going like, okay, what do I do? Do I stay in Russia, like the adversary of the United States during like probably one of the most gnarliest events in modern history? Or do I go back home to like my comfy old life? It was kind of like a red pill, blue pill type situation. And I decided, look, the old way wasn't working. I wasn't happy. I got cancer under that condition of stress and the same cycles that I was in. And I was like, maybe I need to break that pattern. And so I didn't end up going back to the United States and staying in Russia for another 3 or 4 months. And in the meantime, I had brought some crypto stuff. And what I was looking into at the time was some bot trading and some arbitrage trading by a platform called Bitsgap. And I the day that I decided to stay, I ended up opening up my laptop and opened up the files that I had on it. And I ended up going through all of this, and I'm going like, oh my gosh, I started to like actually research some of the tokens. And I'm sitting here going, this is about to explode. And what I was looking at was specifically DeFi, because I just started going down the rabbit hole of all of these tokens with their use cases and what they really did. And I'm just sitting here going like, wow, this is about to explode. And so I like feverishly investigated and researched from like 12 p.m. until 4 a.m. in the morning. And I called my former business partner and I'm like, dude, we got to start teaching this stuff again, like now. And I said, this is what we've been waiting for. Like this like starts to make sense. Like it didn't make sense too much back then because it was like, you really couldn't do much, right? Except for maybe trade on, Binance or Bittrex or, and then hold it in your custody and print some crypto kitties, right? But now we're like, wait, you can like borrow and lend on the blockchain. You can, you could provide liquidity on the blockchain and be, you know, the NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange. And that really got me excited. And so after that, I ended up just hunkering down. I just could not put down my laptop till this day, actually. I still can't. And I just really fell in love with what crypto stands for, and just know like that this is really a better future for everybody, a more equal future, even though it's got its ups and downs and some people have lost a lot of money. You know, these new emerging markets don't come without some pain. And I've been one of them. You know, I've definitely lost money. I'm sure you have. All of us have in crypto. So I came back. I quit my job when I came back to California. I moved to Denver, and I restarted teaching people again. And since then, you know, the rest is history. We've been teaching DeFi, specifically DeFi now, because, you know, the easy stuff, it's still part of our course, and security and all that stuff. But, you know, the meat and potatoes really is DeFi. And that's what we're very passionate about.
Yeah, that sounds like quite a bear market that you went through personally. Wow. And God, all over the place too. Bali to shamans in Russia, which I didn't know existed, to good old California and Denver, man, all over the place. It must have been quite a chaotic time for you, huh?
Yeah, no, you know, like when I made the decision to like really get back into teaching crypto and like leave my job full time, because I didn't do that the first time. I stayed with my job, and, you know, it was one of the things that probably got me, it was too much work, right? There's just too many things going on. So when I was able to just focus on one, and especially crypto, like once I really understood, like, okay, here's the direction the technology is heading into, it really wasn't so chaotic. It was more like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do. This is my vision. This is my journey, you know, on this blue marble floating in the middle of nowhere. And I was just like, I love this. And I don't care if I'm making, you know, $0 a month or $1 million a month. The key thing is, you know, where my heart lies and my passion lies is where the fortune is. And that's what I decided. And I was making decent money. You know, there was some years I would make, you know, high six figures. And I left all that behind and went from making that to, you know, zero, actually paying into the business to start it. So
yeah, it's better to follow your passions. I mean, I find that money tends to follow passion, but passion doesn't always tend to follow money. So do what makes you happy. Plus, on this little blue ball that we all exist on, you know, who knows how many times over you get to try at it. So, you know, do what you like, enjoy it.
Yeah.
So how did this translate into ARCrypto for you? What was the connect there where you're like, you know, I want to share what I'm doing with other people. I want to educate people, and kind of go down this educational route.
Yeah. I mean, you know, what I saw back in 2018 was there was just a need for like people to understand how crypto worked, you know, and, you know, like, let's say a lot of people got back then, especially Americans, which I was living in America at the time, like their thing was like, okay, I'll go to Coinbase and I'll just buy some Bitcoin and some Ethereum or some Litecoin, whatever. And, you know, I wanted to show them like kind of the different avenues of what crypto could do. And I should say, like, back in 2017, 2018, like, you know, we were also able to show people like the original kind of like crowdsourcing of ICOs. And that was really fun, you know, cause like we had these ideas and, you know, a lot of them failed and stuff, but some of them succeeded and are still around today. And so when I saw like, man, finance is so much easier when you have crypto, all it is going to take is a few tweaks and, you know, we're going to revolutionize how we transfer value. And when I stumbled back upon crypto and specifically DeFi in 2020, that's when I was like, you can become your own freaking bank. Maybe you need one bank account. and even that, I would argue, like, you don't really need, unless you have like different businesses and stuff. But like, now I've got my crypto.com card that I can just transfer my money there. I've had landlords take USDC in for payment. Here in Panama where I live, there's coffee shops that take USDT, USDC, Bitcoin, Ethereum, everything. There's pizza shops that do. And so like, the revolution of all this and like the acceptance of this payments, while it's been probably a little slower than you and I would like to see, it's moving at an astronomical rate. And I knew that people, if it was hard for me, that I'm doing this day after day, people, just the layperson who really wants to understand crypto, is really having a hard time. So what I decided to do was just create kind of a step-by-step course live, not, hey, here's my videos and watch them. I mean, you can pretty much do that on YouTube now, but live, where you can get feedback and one-on-one coaching. That's where I think we kind of stood apart, and we saw that there was a big need for that, for a community like that, where people could jump in and get alpha as to what we were buying, what the use cases of the cryptos are, but also how to like move it and how to maximize, your bank. And so that's kind of why the passion behind that, why we really decided to stir this up.
Nice, man. That's awesome to give back that knowledge to people too. Cause I think what really drives crypto right now is everyone wants to be a part of, this next revolution of money, and they want to make a little bit as they go too. And crypto is a very rewarding industry, but a lot of mistakes are made. People, do the wrong things, or there's misconceptions about, how they should be involved. So I want to break down your course a little bit more, and the things that you teach. When someone signs up for ARCrypto to be a part of it and to learn, how to make that passive or active income in crypto, what are some of the nuts and bolts of the things that you teach and that you share with people?
Yeah. So, I'll kind of run you through like the stages that we take people through. So it's basically a 5-week course that, as long as you pay the subscription, you have access to indefinitely. And the course is morphed obviously over the last, 3 years since we reiterated it. But we start with security, making sure you have the right antivirus, making sure you have the right VPN in place, making sure you have a hardware wallet, not just a MetaMask, showing you how to onboard crypto. And that's obviously been a little bit more challenging over the last few months, but we've actually found more technology that's evolving that is allowing students to even do direct deposits from their paychecks now. And it's been really, really cool that they can, just DCA into some ETH or USDC and then buy whatever they want on, decentralized exchange. And then we talk about, bridging, because a lot of the action is happening on, layer 2 solutions, Matic, Arbitrum, Optimism. There's a lot of volume going to those because of obviously the ETH prices. They're just killers, and especially once you're a liquidity provider, it can really eat into your profit unless you have a bigger stash to play with. And then we start teaching them the different avenues of DeFi, and also some other things. We've talked about AI tokens. We've talked about NFT gaming, which is something that I think is going to be a big economy. I think it's going to be one of the biggest economies here coming up because of what AI is doing. And, there's just more and more jobs that are going to become irrelevant. And, even robots doing a lot of the jobs that humans can do nowadays. Would you rather have a robot and, or put somebody at risk or a robot that you can just pay a one-time $50,000 in, maintenance of $100 a month? It's really a no-brainer. And so then we get into, the strategies that we personally use, and we don't use financial advice, and there's multiple different coaches that give different strategies, which each one of us has our different approach to it. And you can kind of pick and choose what you like, but we end up showing them how to mostly provide liquidity on decentralized exchanges. So like Uniswap v3 or PancakeSwap or some of these other decentralized exchanges where, you know, you're allowing the peer-to-peer trading to go on. And we're actually now starting to dive deeper, because I think that this is also going to be a big trend into real estate on the blockchain, and showing people how to tokenize, you know, their investment properties and do crowd funding for them, and, you know, distribute dividends in the form of, you know, stable coins. Or whatever, any crypto that they really want. But this is kind of the progression that we teach. Then once you're done with that and you really understand what you're getting into, we have classes that usually I lead, or some of the higher level coaches lead, that is more on the alpha. So what we're investing in, what strategies are, you know, like single asset staking versus, you know, doing a consolidated liquidity, how to do looping, all that stuff. We're really showing people how to just maximize the yield that they're getting from their DeFi platforms that they're investing in. So
nice. Do you also like go into like the technical analysis side of things as well for those that are more actively investing into, you know, Bitcoin, Ethereum, things like that?
Yeah. So I'll say this, like I used to teach trading, and, you know, in my opinion, like maybe 5 to 10% of the traders actually win. And so I'm more of the camp of, you know, DCAing in and time in the market, not timing the market. And especially when you're talking about providing liquidity, because you're getting a yield on top of your crypto for allowing people to trade peer to peer, right? Or borrowing and lending, which isn't as high as doing, you know, like consolidated liquidity. But there definitely is like a, you know, a support and resistance that we do look at in order to determine like what ranges we're going to be putting cryptos in, where we're going to be buying and getting in on those liquidity pools. And we actually have a course. I don't lead it. It's led by one of our coaches, Igor. And he talks more about technical analysis, but it doesn't go too hardcore, because, you know, we're more about like fundamental analysis. And that's why we're buying like really the blue chip cryptos right now, because they're just at a discount. And I think people are so busy buying the Pepes and the Miladies that don't do anything, right? Except for, you know, maybe make a few people laugh. But the cryptos that are actually doing something, that are actually building, that actually have a use case or a governance case, that's what we're really looking at. And we break those down for our students. You know, when we go in and we do these, we do a full blown slideshow as to like what these cryptos do, you know, what the trend is for them, what they're building, what the use case is, why it's valuable to us. And then again, usually we're providing liquidity for those tokens as well, so we can earn more of them. And over time, just build that stack. But we're looking at like the ones that everybody's yawning about right now, but that we're going to be using in 2 or 3 years. And people are going to be like, oh my gosh, you know, how did these guys get so rich? And it's just like, well, because we did our homework, you know.
So you take the more long-term approach, you know, dollar cost average in, you know, look at what's going to, you know, do well in the future because of the use cases and the technology and what can be applied, you know, down the line. You know, smart. I think a lot of people, they always want these like short-term gains and short-term trades. And I've done it a lot myself, and it's so difficult, especially mentally, to, you know, stay focused and try to like really grasp the market every single day, which is very difficult. I don't know anyone that can in my circle that can grasp the market really well, like on a daily basis, because it's churning so quickly.
Yeah, it's crystal balls, you know, like, oh, I think Bitcoin's going to go up. It's like this guy, you know, I don't want to name any names, but like you see these guys on YouTube and Twitter and all this stuff, and they're always making these calls. And it's like, even a broken clock is right twice a day, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of like stick to it, like, and I look for the like longer term narratives, like regulation, right? That's definitely a narrative we want to be paying attention to. Is Bitcoin really broken? That's probably a narrative you want to be paying attention to, or Ethereum, not being able to process, what was it? I don't know, 50 blocks last week or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's pay attention to that. But outside of that, it's just a bunch of noise, a bunch of rambling, because the tech is there. It's what are the ones that are actually doing something, and that, have the staying power to be here for the next bull run. And that's what I'm really looking for, because that's where the real value is going to be at.
Do you think Bitcoin is broken?
Like, yes and no,
Mm-hmm.
like with all this stuff, and I've had like a few Bitcoin maxis. I mean, one guy just really trying to convince me that I needed to get into this, and this is, but like when I went to go see like all the tokens that they're minting, these ordis and all these other things, I'm like, this is no different than buying Pepe or Sheeb or whatever, right? It's, these coins are meme coins, all of them, every single one. And the ones that allegedly had use cases, nobody was using them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it kind of sucks to see that on Bitcoin, because now it's kind of clogging up the network. And it's cool for me at times because I own some Bitcoin miners, so like my fees have been a little higher lately, right?
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, it's like I see it as Bitcoin, and I think like a lot of the OG Bitcoin maxis would agree with me. The Bitcoin is basically the king, right? It's the ultimate gold standard in crypto, and it's the ability to transfer value very efficiently, and it's the sturdy crypto, right? It's the one that the top of the hill, and so to see that freezing up is not a good thing. So I guess we'll see what they can do. Again, like some of these Bitcoin maxis, they're like, oh, take a look at, the layer 2 on Bitcoin. And it's like, you take a look at like these things like Sovereign, or I forget what, Stacks or something like this. Mm-hmm. There's no TVL. There's no volume. Nobody's doing anything on there. The Bitcoin, I guess if the Bitcoin maxis really wanted to, they've got tons of money, but they don't even trust their own layer 2 solutions. So like, I think Bitcoin needs to basically just stay in its lane, which is, hey, transfer that value, hold that value, and then all the big internet computer is Ethereum and their layer 2 solutions, or Polkadot or Cosmos, whatever is the one that ends up, coming ahead. But I think that's my opinion on Bitcoin. I love Bitcoin though, and definitely own it.
I do too. I love Bitcoin. I think it's the most perfect thing that doesn't work, to be honest. Not that Bitcoin doesn't work at all, but it's like, it's meant to be like a payment solution, but no one uses it for that. It's a store of value and a hedge against fiat currency, which is fine, but it's like, it's not designed for that, but it works, I guess. It's been crazy lately with the Bitcoin ordinals that have come out, and now the BRC20 tokens that have just completely clogged up the blocks on the blockchain. And now everyone's talking about Bitcoin Cash again and Bitcoin SV. And I'm like, God, where were we when this was happening? Like 2019 or something?
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of where we're at in the cycle, and this Pepe coin and all these weird things popping up. But I don't know. We'll see what happens with that in the future, I guess. In regards to DeFi and a lot of the teachings that you do, I think a lot of people, including myself, are familiar with staking and yield farming and ways like that to earn. But in terms of providing liquidity and other methods, what are some other ways or popular ways that you teach about in terms of earning a passive income through DeFi?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, one of the things that I am very bullish on is Web3 gaming and play to earn. And so while we don't, like, I got in way at the beginning when the hype was all about, Axie Infinity, and really saw the future. Like, even though the game sucked and all this stuff, I was like, wait a second, hold on. Like, this really is something that could take off. And I was living in the country of Georgia next to Russia at that time with my girlfriend. And, you know, she started playing and all this stuff. And like, I started thinking like, man, some of these people were making like tens of thousands of dollars a month. And especially in the Philippines, which is really where it grew very quickly. And I'm sitting here going like, okay, think of it this way. You're working in a bar in Georgia or in, you know, the Philippines or wherever, where maybe you make $300 a month, or you get on and you play this game that takes you into a whole other world, you know, and now people are excited to like really play and earn and all this stuff. Right. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, this is actually something that could be a big deal. And I remember back in 2018, I think it's when it came out. Yeah, 2018 was it? Because I talked to my old students about this when Ready Player One came out. And the strategy for Ready Player One was eerily the same to what was going on with Axie Infinity. Because you could hire these scholars to basically play your characters for you, and you could have an infinite amount of people playing your characters, and you just split the earnings with them, right? And it was really, really cool. But at the end of the day, like, that failed. But then I've been still keeping up with some of the games that are really coming out, and you know, the graphics were really horrible on Axie Infinity, and the game was just like really boring at the end of the day. It was like one of these card games, but you got to have like these strategies. Anyways, at the end of the day, like when I started seeing some of these, you know, games being built on like Unreal Engine 5, and, you know, they're taking 2, 3, 4 years to build, and they're building these huge communities. I was like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to this, because when this hits, like, this is going to be a whole economy. And so, we do make a small amount of passive income with that, but that's really like saving for the future, right? Like, it's really cool because you can buy, you know, one of my favorite games is Mirandus, that's going to be coming out, and I've been buying NFTs. You can buy land, you know, you can rent the land. It's so cool. Like the way they set it up is just it's a real economy. Right. And so I just see like all this stuff really headed down that route, especially how big gaming is and stuff. And that's been one of our, at one point in time, even, you know, back during the last bull run, even though the games were crappy, I had passive income coming from there, pretty substantial sometimes, in the tens of thousands of dollars per month. But, you know, like you mentioned earlier, we do a lot of single asset staking. So we find, you know, projects like, let's say, for instance, SNX, where I can go and put some ETH and SNX into a consolidated liquidity pool and earn, you know, right now I think it's like at 230% per year, and then take my SNX to avoid like impermanent loss. I take my SNX, and instead of rolling it back in there, I put it into their native platform and borrow against it. But when I put it in there to borrow against it, I'm actually earning probably anywhere between 20 and 30%, depending on, you know, what the borrowing and all that stuff, and how many people have borrowed against SNX or minted SUSD. And then taking the money that I'm borrowing from there and then putting that into another liquidity pool on a smaller cap token that's earning me more. And then I'm looking for a place to earn single asset staking. So like one is like Quenta. It's it's a futures DeFi platform that's built on, not on SNX, but powered by SNX, I should say. And so you can actually, I'm liquidity pool mining that now on UniV3, earning like 300 or 400% because it's really, really highly traded, low liquidity, but high volume. So it's giving me a higher fee per month. And then I'm taking that and I'm putting it into the Quenta platform, which is paying me 50%. So then I take that 50% and then I spend it. So there's like all these really cool strategies, and at times they can be complex, but when you really understand the flow of it all, you're just like, whoa, like this is really infinite money. This is infinite money printing, but it's all coming from like value. It's not coming from a Ponzi scheme. It's coming from things that people are actually using, which is really cool.
No, that is really cool. It's really fascinating the different ways, especially through DeFi, that you can make money today that didn't exist just a couple years ago. And we had DeFi summer in 2021 or something. So I mean, 2020. So we haven't even been 3 years into DeFi yet. I mean, geez, who knows what it's going to evolve into?
Yeah.
If someone wants to be a part of the course, is there like a certain budget they need to set aside to invest, or is there no limit to investing into not the course specifically, but to make these investments? Like, do they need $1,000 to start? Do they need $5,000 to start, or is it more of a recommendation for volume? Or you tell me.
I mean, we usually recommend that students start with like $250,000. Just kidding. No. We look, we don't make any recommendations on that because that's a very personal question. We don't give financial advice, but we'll say this: invest. And you've heard this before. Invest the amount of money that you're willing to lose with, and especially when you first start. Right? I've had students start off with $200-300. And they've, made that up to $10,000 a month, $15,000 a month. But the strategy is they're dollar cost averaging into it. And as they get to learn more and more as to how the investments flow, they start to put a little bit more and more behind it. But we always say, start slow. Don't FOMO, slow-mo is my slogan. And don't get crazy, because that's how people get burnt. I've had people, and especially last year when the hype was around DeFi and NFTs and all this stuff, it was just like the end of 2017, right? I mean, you lived through it. People were just crazy. And, we had things like nodes, which were really hot, that all these people got into. And, despite the fact we're like, hey, put in a certain amount, we're putting in a certain amount, like less than 1% of our portfolio, no more than 5% if you really, really want to redline it. And they all went to zero, and they ended up being like DeFi Ponzi schemes. And so like the idea is go slow. And, for me, build your positions in Bitcoin and Ethereum, because those are the ones that, are tried and true and are probably going to be around for a very, very long time. So until that's unproven or there's another crypto that really comes out. So that's kind of our profit taking strategy that we teach. We don't tell, but we teach, is, taking 12.5% into a liquidity pool for Bitcoin ETH, 12.5% into single asset staking, WBTC, and 12.5% into staked ETH. So at least you're earning a little bit of interest on the staked ETH and WBTC, and like Aave, which is really crappy interest rate, but still it's something just in case, whatever. Let's say the SEC decides everything is a security. They've said the one that's not is Bitcoin. So I'm putting, a nice chunk into that as we progress forward. So.
Got it. What about someone that may not have enough time, like during the day, that maybe works like a 9-to-5 job still? Is this a situation where they have to budget the money, quit cold turkey, and then go full into the course? Or is this something that can work around their daily life and their schedule?
Yeah, no, it's super easy. We have classes at night. All the classes are pre-recorded, and we do have workshops. I will say this, it's a little intense the first, let's say 5 weeks. All right. Doesn't mean you have to quit your job, but you're going to put in an extra hour a day, or every other day, you're putting in an extra hour or two. but once you've gotten there, once you understand the principles, once you've learned that new skill, it's actually very simple and requires very little time. You may want to show up to a course or a couple of courses that we offer on, the alpha that we're giving, or some news that may directly affect some of the cryptos that we're particularly talking about. But outside of that, it really doesn't take a lot of your time. And we have decentralized managed options as well, which is really cool, where, you actually hold the keys to it, and we're able to make the moves, but we're not able to actually withdraw any of the money. And it's very, very safe, and it's even insured against exploits. So there's some really cool stuff that's out there for people that, may not have the amount of time to make their own moves, but want to be exposed to it.
Got it. If someone is like very new to this, and maybe they don't have a lot of money to put up to, start, I get like a bit of advice from both sides on this, especially when I was like kind of learning how to trade too. One side of it, people say, oh, just mock trade, don't use actual money, but practice for a while. Then the other side of it says, put like $100 in, because when you have skin in the game, you feel the risk and you pay more attention. Is there any truth to either side of that? Or do you guys maybe encourage doing mock trading or playing around with fake virtual money or virtual money before, really doing it?
Sure.
Or do you think having the risk is somewhat good for learning too?
Okay. So obviously, like, we're not necessarily trading. So that, I used to teach bot trading, and you could do that. You could do demo trading and stuff like that. And it was definitely good just to like understand what happens if I press this, right?
Right.
Last thing you want to do is like go in and put, 100x leverage on Pepe at the top and get wiped out in one single trade. Right. So it just depends on what you're investing in. So if you're going to do like bot trading, or your strategy is trading, then I would say, do a little bit of demo trading before you do it, just so you understand what the buttons mean, right? Because it's like jumping into a spaceship when you first jump into some of this stuff, right? But if you're talking about like DeFi, throw in $200-300. Everybody can afford that. That's one of the things I teach my students, though. It's not just DeFi, it's also mindset of finances, because we're not taught these things. We're really taught to be poor, good, middle to low class citizens in terms of our finances. And so, the thing that I like to talk about a lot in my courses is, how do you flip that mindset around so that you can think more abundantly? So you can start changing the way you think. Your cycles start to change, just like I needed to change my cycles when right before I got divorced and cancer and my cat died. Like, I was stuck in a cycle, in a mental cycle. And so I had to break those cycles and create new ones so that I could become more successful, so that I could have more peace of mind, so that I could be healthy. These were all things that had to occur. So I would say, find that $200-300, and then maybe you lose some of it or 50% of it. That's okay. Anybody can stir up another $200-300, right? And I had a lot of students, especially last year during the bear market, that totally got greedy, and I took my portfolio from $15,000 when I was in Russia. I mean, I was down to fumes. It's the only money that I had was in my crypto. Then I was able to DCA in, and my portfolio by the end of 2021 was, in excess of $2 million. And so this is, the crypto market is the land of second chances. And so, but you don't want to go in too heavy, because if you do, you could definitely get wiped out. And I've had students that do that, and they're still with me, but they're just like, man, that's the hardest lesson that I've had to learn financially. I'm like, yeah, sometimes you have to, even though we're saying like, don't put all your eggs in this basket, have the majority of your money in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Still, there's always going to be that person that's going to jump on one class, where we're talking about the biggest degen play, and we talk way less about degen plays now than we used to. And they're gonna bet it all on red, and it's worked for some people, but then it's gone terribly wrong for others. And so I don't like leaving it up to chance. So I always say just start with a little bit, and that's why dollar cost averaging is to me the best way to go about it, because if you strike out, you always got a little bit coming next time, and you're always going to learn. You're always going to learn.
Absolutely. Do you feel like FOMO and FUD are some of the bigger mistakes the average investor maybe makes when they're, trying to put their money into this market, whether it's an actual coin like Bitcoin, or it's Pepe, or it's into DeFi, or whatever it may be? I think a lot of people, they get very excited, the FOMO's hitting. They're like, oh, I'm going to throw some money into it, so then maybe I'll make money off the top of it, what everyone else is doing. Then they get monkey hammered, and then, the FUD happens, and they want to get all their money out, and then they miss an opportunity and it comes back. Is that maybe one of the most common mistakes you see people making that are average traders coming into this? Or are there other things that maybe you've seen that kind of plague the average investor?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely FOMO. Greed is the main driver. And look, I'm not going to say that I haven't gotten greedy and gotten into some of these and gotten absolutely wrecked. All right,
we all do at some point.
Yeah, we all do. And it's part of the learning curve, in crypto, unfortunately. But in the end, you take those and you learn from them. But yeah, definitely FUD. You'll see a lot of people just selling because they hear this rumor that never comes to fruition. And it's like USDC coming unpegged this year. I was sitting there going like, man, no way that Coinbase and who's the it's not Goldman Sachs, but one of these big funds is that spot BlackRock, and they're gonna let USDC go down by the wayside. There's just no way. These guys are gonna prop it up, and then the Fed ended up obviously covering SBV, but you just gotta be kind of rational when people are irrational, and that's kind of part of the mindset side that we talk about. Like, I'm huge into meditation. I meditate sometimes 1 to 2 times per day, and minimum of half hour to each time, just to slow my brain down, just to take a breath, and really just understand, okay, like this is all going to be okay. We've been here before. We've had governments say this, that, and the other about crypto. We've had, people talk bad about crypto. We've had Bitcoin maxis say bad things about altcoins. Like, we just got to take a deep breath, see what the real narrative is. And this is why I like investing based off of fundamentals as opposed to technical, analysis. Because then you can kind of control the narrative a little bit more inside your mind, as opposed to like, oh my gosh, is it about to go down? It's going to hit support and resistance. It didn't hit total resistance, but
right.
And then it disobeys all the rules that you just spent, 1 or 2 years learning. So that's why I always say, it's better time in the market than timing the market, because there's always going to be FUD. There's always going to be some kind of news coming out that's going to make you rethink your investment. But if you have that long-term strategy and you're like, hey, okay, I'm still not completely sold on this crypto thing. So maybe instead of DCAing whatever, $1,000 that I have to invest, I'm going to invest $250 per month until you really get the bug, like you and I, and then, you ape into Bitcoin and Ethereum because it's staying.
Absolutely. I'm curious to what you recommend to your students outside of, the investing part of it. They always say to be patient and to be unemotional and be calm. It's easier said than done. But what would you recommend to people? Like, should they meditate? Should they distract themselves with positive and healthy habits? What are some good ways to keep a calm, clear mind and not to maybe overthink a lot of the investment situation and to, I think, lower that stress level?
Okay, so that's a really, really good question. So I actually had a teacher who helped me through this back in 2018 after I was diagnosed with cancer. Because I mean, I was going nuts. I didn't
Right.
know if I still wanted to live. I didn't have a family. I was divorced, living 38 years old, living with my family. It was awful, right? So I was able to really learn how to quiet my mind. That was definitely one thing. And then begin to create my own environment. And let me tell you what I've done since then. And this is actually a course that I'm offering free for my students right now, because we're kind of like beta testing it with them. I was able to take my expenses and bring them down to next to nothing. So that's where a lot of the fear comes in, right? Because usually when you're up against the wall, you're gonna panic. Your overhead is like mine was at the time $10,000-$15,000, and I was only earning $9,000 a month from my salary because we restructured the business that I was in back then, and I was totally screwed. I'm like, how am I going to freaking live? Like, I'm upside down, and we're not even talking about taxes yet. I'm upside down $5-6 grand a month, $7 grand a month. Plus, I owed all sorts of money in debt, all this stuff. So what I did was I brought down my overhead. I literally stopped paying some of my credit cards. I was like, it's either eat or, pay my credit cards. And I was like, I'm going to eat. And then I started getting more creative, and I'm like, it's either eat or make investments, because I knew that we were at the bottom of the market or close to it. And I was like, I got to DCA into it. And it was the best decision that I ever made. And I was able to clear up a lot of the other stuff. Right. But definitely bring your overhead down. Clear your mind, meditate, and learn how you can like arbitrage. This is one of the things that I'm aggressively teaching is like, I know, you live in another country. I live in another country. Like where I live is substantially cheaper than the United States. And we have a lot of students in the United States. And we just think like, oh, I need to move to the Midwest to get a cheaper place, or a place that I don't really enjoy living. I mean, I've been to the Midwest. It's actually really cool. Not during the winter, but during the summertime. But you can really find skills and jobs that you can do online, lower your overhead, get it down to something that's super manageable, that in case something happens, you're not going to freak out, and then start DCAing into investing. Because honestly, unless you are making that passive income, you're forever going to be a slave to your job, even if you're passionate about it. I'd rather be like passionate about it and do it at my own leisure because I have enough money over here than having to just like, I have to do this. Once you say I have to do anything, you're in your own hell, in my opinion. Right. And that's just, I gave that life up years ago.
Yeah, that's some good advice. The arbitrage thing with living too is really good idea. That's why I live in Colombia too. It makes more sense. I don't have to worry about spending $3,000, $4,000 a month on rent in the United States. More if I want to live in a big city. I think a lot of young people do want to live in a city. They want that active lifestyle. And a lot of first world countries are very, very expensive. But yeah, Panama is a good option. Colombia is a good option. There's a lot of places that feel totally fine and that are safe and very opportunistic. I think for a lot of people, they would be more affordable, but I don't think have realized it yet, or they're scared to make that leap. It's probably both. But man, it helps so much because you don't have to touch your investments. You can relax. You can slowly put it in. You can save some money in case you have anxiety in terms of not having enough. It's better than living paycheck to paycheck and not being able to do anything. And then, yeah, the stress eats you alive.
Yeah. I mean, like where I live in, one of the nicest buildings in Panama, if not the nicest building in Panama, in a 2-bedroom, 1,500 square foot with a panoramic ocean view. We're on the front line. I have a nice view. There's an island right here. You can't see it because there's the wall there, but and my whole lifestyle, and I eat in nice restaurants, all this stuff, it's costing me $5,000-$6,000 a month. And, I have my fiance and my daughter that was just born last year, where, just this apartment in Miami would be $6,000-$7,000 a month. easily without any hesitation, right? So, again, like, it's not only just bringing down your expenses and arbitraging that, but you live a better quality life, in my opinion. And, I think Panama's first world country, I think, maybe, but
Developing, maybe getting there.
Let's say developing, but it's got so much to offer. And I know Colombia does as well. I have a lot of friends that are in Colombia, you being one of them now. But Colombia is, I hear a lot of great things. I actually want to make my way down to Medellin soon. But yeah, there's so many places in the world. When I was living in the country of Georgia, I mean, we had an apartment that cost us $2,000. It was 2,500 square feet. And Brandon, I mean, this place looked like a catalog out of one of these upscale stores, like restoration hardware. It was that beautiful, with this view that, I mean, it looked like a painting, and just so much light coming into the place. So there's so much out there that, and I'm sure a lot of your people are American that watch your show. But that, we're taught that the world is a dangerous place, and oh my gosh, you're going to die if you go step outside of the United States anywhere. And that's not the case. There's so many cool places in the world that suit all of your needs, from taxes to investing to saving money to living to eating. And it's just so much fun when you can actually get out there and know that it's really not that expensive. It's actually way less, and you can breathe. You can not have that stress that's going on back in the United States that I think you and I definitely don't have.
Absolutely. For the young Americans that are watching and listening to this, I'm an American. Don't be afraid to, jump ship a little bit and see what's out there. I know the US kind of paints, I think, a lot of the world as a dangerous, unsafe place. So stay in your bubble and live here. We're the best in the world. But the reality is, once you leave and you look back, you just realize how more difficult and, I think, unhappy being in America is. Like, for example, when I came to Colombia for the first time, there was a bit of a culture shock. It was very different. But after about a year or so adapting, I can do all the normal things that I do here that I did in the US and at a lot lesser of an expense. But every time I leave Colombia and I go back to the US, doesn't matter where it is. If I go to Florida, if I go to Nevada and Las Vegas, if I go to California or the Midwest, I've been there too. You feel so much heavier and unhappy and stressed, and Uber goes from $2 to $40, and your avocados go from 25 cents to $5, and your rent goes from a couple of grand to almost 10 grand. And it's horrific.
Yeah.
And you realize how many people are living there that just don't really realize that. And I think that is the reality of the world. Then you leave and you're like, wow, life is, not so bad outside of America. I think that's the biggest thing people, don't experience, or they're too afraid to experience. And that's like this hidden truth.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So,
absolutely. Where can people go to learn more about the course? They want to sign up. We actually got a link for you guys in the description for this episode. So definitely go click on it, sign up, and check out the courses here at ARCrypto. They're fantastic. You're going to learn a lot. But Gven, where can people go if they want to learn a bit more and get some more detail? Do you have any maybe publications or blogs or articles, or where would you direct people?
Yeah, I mean, you could head over to our website. I think you have your actual link that you can share with everybody there. Also, Instagram is probably where I'm posting a lot of my short-term content. My handle is @WealthRenegade. And then Twitter as well. I'm starting to do a lot more with Twitter just because I really like what they're doing in terms of I can post things about, things that aren't popular to people and are certain people, the powers that be. And that's the same @WealthRenegade. So those are the two mostly active things. And we're going to start launching more of a YouTube presence, but we have only short form content there. So it's better just go Instagram.
Nice. I've seen you on TikTok too.
Yeah, TikTok as well, but I don't know. I'm kind of straying away from TikTok, and and especially the stuff that we're talking about. It's a little bit more long form, so I wanna be able to share some of that. So like, I'm hoping Twitter comes out with some good stuff for long form, and as well as, you know, YouTube is the go-to place for that. So we're gonna start building that out just a little bit more. So if you want, you know, to get to know me a little bit better before becoming a student. But we also have a course that starts as low as like $500. And it gets you access to our stuff for a year, and we show you a few plays. So there's some alpha there as well.
Awesome. Guys, make sure to check out all the social pages, the website, everything for ARCrypto. Everything will be in the description for the episode, wherever you're listening and watching, as well as a direct link so that you guys can go sign up and participate. Gven, are you also available maybe on like LinkedIn or something? If people want to connect like directly with you personally, maybe they want to work with you or collaborate, where's the best place to get in contact?
Yeah, they can. I would say Instagram. Just DM me on Instagram, and that's usually the best. I do have a LinkedIn, and I post on it every day, but Instagram is probably the easiest to get a hold of. Too many places to post now.
Right, right. I feel you on that. All right, Gven, thank you for taking the time, man. It's been a really good episode, very educational, a lot of good information. Really excited to, you know, share this with everybody. I think everyone's going to really, really enjoy it. And yeah, let's do it again in the future.
Awesome, man. For sure. Thanks for having me on, brother.